Hey, everybody, welcome to the WODcast podcast. I'm your host, Eddie Ift, and each and every week I bring you uh, a show about strength conditioning, fitness, health, whatever. Sometimes it's not really about your own health, maybe your business health, or maybe your spiritual health, or whatever it is. I don't know. I try to make it different, I try to make it interesting. A lot of times it's based in CrossFit. Sometimes it's just people that I find interesting and exciting that I've met off of Instagram. That sounds weird, like that I'm on some like dating site. No, it's this week guest David Vanderveen, guy I found through, I think it was through kind of the surf world and surf connections. But I found him because it's very interesting for any of you who are CrossFit affiliate owners to listen to this guy talk business. Very smart guy, cool guy, fun, exciting, interesting guy who's been very successful at business and putting a business together that is very similar to a CrossFit type business. So I thought it was an interesting interview. It was originally going to be slated to be one of the fifth episodes. That is, I do a fifth episode every month for the people that listen to or the people that are Patreons. Anyone that donates $5 a month gets an extra episode, and I put those in the Patreon. If you go to wodcastpodcast.com/Patreon or patreon.com/wodcast, you can put $5 in, and you will get not only a fifth episode, but you'll get in a drawing to receive a Myopux and a leopard paw. A leopard paw. I just gave away a leopard claw to a friend the other day. He got a gunked up calf muscle, and I know the next thing that's going to happen is a torn Achilles. So I told him, I said, get this thing and start scraping. It's like a grass and like a gua sha, and you scrape anywhere that you have adhesions or any kind of messed up tissue, muscle, that you want to increase the blood flow there. A Myopux does not the same thing. Actually, a Myopux works it great in conjunction with it, where you hook up the pads to the Myopux and you can flush all that bad waste out and get in the good stuff. Bring in the new blood, take out the bad stuff through your lymphatic system. And that's an electronic muscle stimulator. But you get both of these if you give to the Patreon. So guys, $5 a month. That's all you got to give to the Patreon. There aren't many of you. So you pretty much have a really good chance of winning. Very, 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 very good chance of winning. But the show right now is with David Vanderveen because I didn't think that this was a fifth episode. I thought it was good for WODcast listeners. I thought it was we're kind of in a little bit of a downtime. This is the part of the year when summer's over. There's not a lot of CrossFit competition activity, and people are gearing up for school and stuff. So I thought it was really interesting. I also want to talk about what's going on with me. I am going to revamp this whole show. That's right. I am looking to build a studio. If you can tell right now, I'm in my kitchen right now doing the show. And I've got to build a studio, and I'm going to do the WODcast out of there and maybe bring back my old show, Talking Shit, which is a comedy show. I think I'm going to name it something else, maybe name it just the Eddie Ift Show, something like that. But there's going to be a new show where I talk comedy and do more of a comedic show, because WODcast, I really nerd out on the interesting aspects of strength and conditioning and health and wellness and nutrition. And I have some really, really, really good guests coming up. We have the winner of the CrossFit Games coming up. Ha ha ha. Also Rob Wolf, who I find so interesting, who owns LMNT, which is one of my favorite. I don't like to what am I talking about? I love to talk about products. They're not a sponsor, but I do take LMNT almost every single day. So I'm giving an ad for something that I just believe in. It's an incredible electrolyte replacement drink. It gives you 1,000 milligrams of sodium. And I don't usually drink a full one. I'll do like half before, half after. I do it before I surf. I do it before I run. I do it before I mountain bike. Sometimes I'll just do it because I feel a little like run down. And that is my best thing for hydration. I'm feeling it right now. I feel like I need to have one right now, and I probably will right after this. So Rob is coming on the show, and you guys all know Rob, author of the Paleo Solution. So he's on next month. And like I said, Medeiros, so many cool people I've been talking to, trying to nail down his guest, Dave Driscoll out of CrossFit in Bali. Annie Thor's daughter we're talking to. So hopefully she'll be on the show soon. Anyway, let's see. Let's talk sponsors. And we might not be talking about them now. They might be, I might messed up, and that they are time for, they come on in the middle of the show. Yeah, they do. They're, we'll talk about them in the middle of the show. All right. But my sponsors this week are two of my favorites, Mudwater and Thorn. So please take the time to listen to these ads, because what I'm talking about, I really, truly believe in. And I think if you're out there and you're in this world and you're looking to better yourself, these are two companies that really, really can help you. Mudwater is a mushroom kind of coffee that replaces the coffee you're drinking now. And Thorn is the Rolls Royce of supplements. I mean, there's no other way to go. In fact, I'm going to order some Thorn curcumin, which is called Marevia, I think. I think they've got like a patent on it. So I take the Thorn NAC every single night, and I take the Thorn creatine. But I'll get to those ads in the middle of the show. Let's just get this show started. If you want to come out and see me live doing comedy, I've had so many weird cancellations because of COVID and dates screwed up and everything. This week, I'm leaving tomorrow to go to Kansas City. I'll be at the Kansas City. It's called the Comedy Club of Kansas City. I'm going to be there Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night. That's the 9th, 10th, and 11th. I will be in Kansas City. I should probably talk to Jacob Hepner, maybe go by and see how his boxing's going, because we're going to have Tony Jeffries on the show, who's a silver medalist in boxing in the Olympics, to talk to us all about these boxing matches. Oh, I'm talking to Devin Lorette, who is a arm wrestler, who's the going to be in that main event that night that Josh Bridges and I'm a little weirded out by all these boxing matches. It's like, hey, let's take a singer and watch them play drums. Hey, let's take a chef and watch them clean toilets. It's just weird to me that boxing is the thing that everybody wants to do, and then they take someone out of one thing and put them in it, and see this Logan Paul shit. So I'm going to talk to Tony Jeffries all about it. For some reason, people want to box and people want to do stand-up comedy, but I'm doing stand-up comedy. And I said, Kansas City next week. I'm in Atlanta at the Punchline. If you live in Atlanta, come see me. I'll be at the Punchline Comedy Club. Punchline. That'll be the 17th, 18th, and 19th. Then the 24th and 25th. This is where it's been changed. I will be in Omaha, Nebraska. Omaha, Nebraska is where I will be. Sorry about that alarm telling me. It's like it's telling me to go pick up my kids. Nah. And then I go straight from Omaha, Nebraska to Las Vegas, Nevada. Yeah, I'll be at Brad Garrett's Comedy Club. That's September 27th to October 3rd. Then I had a couple cancellations. I had San Diego moved and Plano, Texas canceled or moved. So I'll be in San Diego the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th of October. And then coming up after that, Wilmington, North Carolina, Naples, Florida, Key West, Florida, Edmonton, Canada, Reno, Nevada, Bozeman, Montana, Anchorage, Alaska. Go check out all my dates at eddyift.com. Scottsdale, Arizona, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Boston, Sun Valley, Idaho, Irvine Improv. I'm shooting my special. That's the 22nd. So check out all these dates, eddyift.com, and come out and see me live. Like I've said, someone just contacted me about bringing their gym out or me coming to their gym. Let me know. Send me a message, WODcastpodcast@yahoo.com, and I will either get you guys tickets somehow, discount tickets, free tickets. We'll do a special event. We could go in, you need to do a fundraiser for your gym. We could do a 50-50. I could come to your gym. It's worked at other places. Let's do it. I can tell jokes for the whole CrossFit gym. So let me know. Again, that's send me a message. You can email me at eddyift@yahoo.com also. And with that, I say we get this show rolling. Are you ready to rumble? That sounded so weird. Yeah. All right. Let's get started.
Thanks,
David,
Andy.
how are you?
Good, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Where are you right now?
I'm in Beverage, France. I'm in it's kind of the southwest corner of France, where on the Bay of Biscay, right at the Spain border.
Oh, right. And there's some good surf spots there.
It's amazing. I was here in early June with my younger son who lives in Paris, and we had massive surf. It's like Hawaii here. They get big waves, and it's flat today, but yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Is it all beach break?
No, there's amazing reef breaks. We actually, like Mundaka, which is a famous left break in Spain. It's a reef, primarily kind of a big bay reef. But yeah, we surfed there. It was like 15 feet and 15 wave sets, like monsters. Parlamentia is like a big wave in Guitare, just south of Biarritz. Big reef break. It's 20 feet there. It's huge. There's also some great beach breaks, like Osagor, where they have the Quick Pro and stuff like that is epic, like big, just spitting barrels. But today we swam out to some rocks, jumped off some cliffs. It's just a beautiful place.
Yeah, I tried to. My wife wanted to go on holiday to like France and Spain. And I was like, yeah, I'll go. And I had totally detoured it all the way through there so that I could get some surfing. And she was like, this is not why you go to Europe. And I was like, why I go?
No, dude, it's exactly why you go to Europe. I mean, sorry, I'm just moving, so I have a little bit better seating and light here. But look, there's a lot of amazing European cities to visit, lots of culture, and that's great, a lot of history. But if you're in Europe, you got to get to the southwest corner of France and Spain and frickin' shred.
Yeah, I've done. I've gotten enough culture in my life. I don't need it anymore. I toured the world doing stand-up comedy, and I don't need to tour it anymore to go to cities. I've had enough cities.
If you're paying out of your pocket, go somewhere you want to go, man.
Yeah,
right?
And also why, like with this, like the world of like viruses, why just go in these massive city centers where it's just like festering?
Hey, question. I have a question for you real quick.
Sure.
So what happened to your break?
My break?
You just had a video where you're like selfieing on a GoPro, or you're riding a bike, and then you had this break with your feet. What happened?
Oh, I was filming a promo. I like to film promos before all my gigs to say like, hey, I'll be in Ventura Harbor, or I'll be in Atlanta at the Punchline. So I'm shooting one of those, and I'm on my kid's little dirt bike. Yeah, it's like my 5-year-old or 6-year-old's little dirt bike, and I've got this like selfie stick holding the phone.
Yeah,
and I realized the selfie stick, the little dirt bike only has a left-handed brake, only one brake, and the selfie stick is in the hand that I'm holding. I'm holding the selfie stick, and I can't hold the brake, so it's either I have to like drop the whole selfie stick going down the hill and destroy my phone, or
it's like a big wheels. It's like a big wheels brake. You just put your feet down.
That's what I did. I Fred Flintstoned it, and I just like going down the hill, and I almost like had a horrible wipeout. Like I saw a car coming the other way.
Dude, I was watching it, like sweating. I was wondering what was going on.
Yeah, and the whole thing flipped over and everything. And it's just, my neighbors all think I'm insane as it is because I ride around. I mean, this thing's like the size of a 50. And I sometimes will take 2 kids on it.
Oh, no.
2 kids and 3 dogs and walk the dogs. And the neighborhood's like, I look like a family from India.
I was going to say, it's like Indonesia. It's like a freaking, you got the kid, you got the pig, you got also India, Indo, whatever. Like, the best part is like, the only one that gets a helmet is dad. It's like, okay, dad, you probably are the last guy that needs a helmet right now.
I've said that same thing a million times. I said one time on a podcast, I showed a picture of one that I experienced in India where I think I saw 4 family members. So there were like 5 on it. And they were also carrying a dog. And somebody sent me a picture, and these are on the highways. This is on the highway. And somebody,
they're coming at the wrong direction in India on the highway.
And somebody sent me a video. I think it was of 7 or 9 people on a motorcycle.
Dude, and they're like mopeds, right? They're like scooters. It's crazy. No, I love it over there. Like I did a 12-city tour of India, and it's like planes, trains, and automobiles because you're trying to get in and out of places. And I came into a big city, and we're on a freeway. I use the term loosely, or maybe more aggressively, because there were like, I mean, you think you're going on one direction on that road, and all of a sudden there's like a cart and an ox pulling it, or there's like somebody on a moped coming at you, and you just it's like free for all. I call India rolling chaos. I love it, but you're like, I have no idea what's going to happen today. It's just
I would like to right now I would like to petition for the job of the CEO of NASCAR. I think that I could make NASCAR so much better. Here's what I would do. I would go hire, and I'm going to get in trouble for this. I would go hire half of the drivers would be from India. They'd be Indian taxi drivers. And the other half would be Black women. Because I find
with headsets so you can hear what they're saying.
Black women drive so aggressively. And I've talked about this with like Black comedians, and they're like, you're so right. I'm like, I've never gotten a yield from a Black woman ever. Like, when I got a yield, I'm like, hey, can I cut in here? They won't even look at me. And and Black men are like, same thing here. It's like, it's not you being white. It's just like, there is an aggressiveness, like there's a stereotype of Asian women being bad drivers. Black women might be the best drivers I've ever seen.
Well, also I think, look, Black women are single moms who have to fight for every scrap of anything they get.
I think that's where it comes from.
It's not surprising, right? I mean, that's what they should be doing out there. It's awesome.
Yeah, I think there's an aggressiveness. I don't ever find a problem with stereotyping, and the people go, oh, that's wrong, or blah, and I'm like, you know what? Like,
not if it's true.
It's like you do these things like I will stereotype, and it might help my life in some ways. And I'm wrong often. I'm wrong very, very often. I remember I went down to Florida to do a show in Boca Raton for all these old Jews. And I'm like,
weird. We saw that coming.
I was like, they're going to hate me. And I went on and I was like, this is the best crowd I've ever performed for in my life. I'm like, these are my fans, like old Jewish people.
Well, also, there's a big difference between, okay, when people say stereotyping, I think they're saying bigotry. Bigotry is wrong, right? But there's a difference between understanding a trend or understanding like something that actually just happens all the time versus like trying to make a negative comment about a whole people group because one person did something. I think those are different things.
It's funny you say that. I had an argument with the taxi driver in New York about this, because there used to be, I lived in New York for a while, and there was a problem with, taxi drivers wouldn't stop for Black people. And they would drive right past them and pick up a white passenger. And I saw it happen. I saw it happen with Dave Chappelle, where he couldn't get a taxi. I saw it happen. Tony, like famous comedian friends of mine, couldn't get taxis. And then the Opie and Anthony radio show did a really funny thing where they put Patrice O'Neill, who's a Black man, on the street, and Adolf Hitler, a guy dressed as Adolf Hitler.
Oh my God.
And the taxi drivers would drive right past Patrice
To get Adolf Hitler.
and pick up Adolf Hitler.
Oh my
And then Adolf Hitler would make the taxi wait, and Patrice would jump in the taxi with them. And then Patrice would berate the taxi driver. And be like, you picked up Adolf Hitler.
Hitler instead of me.
And so I had a discussion with the taxi driver once saying, I'm like, that's bullshit that you guys do that and blah, blah, blah. And he said, here's the deal. He said, I said, is it safety? Like you're afraid? He goes, there is an aspect of that. He goes, but not really. He said, he's like, I'm just doing a deduction. He goes, that Manhattan is primarily majority white. Okay. And he goes, if I pick up a white person, the chances are they're going to take me to another part of Manhattan where I'm going to get another ride right away. He goes,
and fair.
The outer boroughs are historically, statistically, urban, like Black and Hispanic. And he goes, if I pick one of them up, I am going to an outer borough where I'm probably not going to get a ride back in.
Right.
He's like, it's simple math. I'm trying to make the most money in the night. So I'm looking at a person and I'm judging, where's my fare coming from? I think all of us do that. If we're in sales, if you're in you judge a person and you go, hey, can I make some money off this person? Can I not make some money off this person? And it might has nothing to do with the color of their skin. It might be, look at his watch, look at his shoes, look at the way he carries himself. And that has nothing. And so a quick deduction is Manhattan's majority white, outer borough. So I kind of sided with the taxi driver there, where I was like, that's a, if you're looking to put money, put food on the table.
Yeah.
It makes a little sense.
Yeah. I mean, they're probably not that sensitive either. They're hustlers. Right. But I might roll down the window and ask where the guy's going, but yeah, I get it.
Yeah. Well, I've had them do that to me where they're like, where are you going? I'm like, uptown. They're like, later. And you're like, hey.
Yeah. Yes. At that point, you're not special. You're just not going where they want to go.
Yeah. And the funny thing is they're all immigrants themselves. So they're discriminated against constantly, and they're just doing it. You're drinking a glass of wine. I'm drinking LMNT, Rob Wolf's electrolyte solution, which just tastes like I'm drinking salt.
It's a little later here. It's 10 p.m. So, I'm drinking a little of the French.
All right. So let me tell the listeners a little bit of how I found you. And
that was my question, by the way.
Every once in a while I just stumble across somebody on Instagram. And I think I commented, it might've been on Jonathan Wayne Freeman or somebody's page, Sal Mesicala, Salema, somebody, and you commented back something. And I was like, who's this guy? And I clicked your page and I started seeing something and I was just really curious. And I was like, and so then I read your bio and I was like, oh, this dude's nuts. Like this is awesome. This is right up my alley of an interesting person that I would like to talk to. So let's start from the beginning. You're a loving life kind of guy. Where'd you grow up?
Primarily West Michigan. So if you know where Milwaukee is, it's straight across. Yeah. I grew up straight across from Milwaukee on the Michigan side in Grand Haven, Michigan. And
you learned to surf in one of those lakes?
In Grand Haven. Yeah. I grew up surfing, windsurfing. I grew up really, my parents, my dad loved sailing. We grew up, my older brother and I grew up racing sailboats and little scows that go real fast. And then windsurfing came out. We raced windsurfers and then ended up getting into sailing them in storms. We were pretty young. I was like 13 and we'd break shit all the time. And they're expensive, windsurfers, especially back then, it was expensive to fix stuff. And you're like far out, like we'd be maybe a mile or two out and you'd break a universal. You have to paddle your board back. It's a long haul. So it's just, we kept simplifying. And the way that the waves work on the Great Lakes is you get these big violent storms that generate surf, or you get like a long warm front that comes through and just generates wind over many days that generates surf, but it's short period wind swell. And, so you're always in the middle of some either big front, like the one I was in last night here in France, or, it's just some violent storm that makes the waves pop up. And you kind of have like usually windows of maybe a day or hours where you're
Yeah.
trying to find something to ride.
I've seen it in the hours in Florida on the West Coast where
Yeah.
I'm there, and somebody will go, "You like to surf?" And I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "If you get to the beach right now, you have about 1 hour." And I'm like, "Really?" And I'm like, "That's so weird."
Yeah.
So then what brought you to California?
Yeah, well, so my college roommate, we grew up, we were lucky enough to travel a bit when I was growing up. So we surfed a lot of different places, and, you know, a lot of our family trips when we were older was either sailing and surfing, different stuff. My college roommate was from Laguna Beach. And so at spring breaks, we would just stay at his parents in Emerald Bay, which is a gated community. It's very nice. And, you know, at that point in my life, I kind of equated LA with Orange County, like a lot of people do. I didn't understand the differences. And so people would be like, "Oh, you know, LA sucks, da da da." And I'd be like, "No, it's really nice." Like, you know, I'm just thinking about living in Emerald Bay, and then we go surf trestles every day. And you're, you know, so here, you know, it was kind of a gilded existence. And I just sort of, you know, this is in the 80s, I just sort of fell in love with the whole idea of Laguna Beach, surfing Southern California, especially Orange County, and having, you know, being a part of that. And so it was always on my radar. And it's a longer story to how I got to California, but I basically was just on the quest to get to Southern California. And I think it's the best weather on earth if you're on the coast. It's really fun waves, not necessarily the best waves, but just super fun waves, and very consistent, right? So it's just a great place if you like to surf to be getting in the water every day.
Yeah, I grew up in Pittsburgh, and as a little kid, there was no surfing, and we'd go to the Jersey Shore. That was the closest we get to the beach.
Yeah.
And I was into BMX and then
Oh,
skateboarding,
wow.
and I was obsessed with the BMX culture. I got
When was this, by the way?
this
I
is
don't know how old you are.
this is in the 80s, early 80s,
Okay.
and I was a bad student, and somebody told my mom, buy him books and magazines in whatever he likes, and just, you know,
So you'll
let him,
read.
let
Yeah.
him immerse himself in that. So my mom, bless her heart, bought me, I think I was getting like 8 to 10 subscriptions a month of like BMX Plus, BMX Action, Freestyling, all of these magazines. And I could tell you how many teeth on a sprocket. I would look at a bike and I'd be like, "Oh, he's running a 4416." I knew everything, but all these guys all rode in California. Everyone was from California.
Right.
And to me, it was like Redondo Beach and Torrance, and all these places to me were like fascinating. And
Right.
I was like, I'm gonna get there. And then when E.T. the movie came out, I saw them like riding through Thousand Oaks and Glendale, and I was like, "Oh, that's it. That's the place to be. You'll meet an extraterrestrial."
Oh, dude, I could not figure. So I started buying Surfer magazine when I was, I don't know how old, but junior high maybe. And I was just like, I could not. I used to, you know, we used to make skim boards and stuff, and skim on flat, you know, lake stuff, lake beaches, and I could not figure out how on earth you got that into a barrel until you come to like Victoria Beach or the Wedge, and you're like, "Oh, well, yeah, if the barrel's on the sand, then you can do that," right? It's just totally different sport. But it's it's the same thing. I grew up just looking at I would just pour over these surfer magazines. I would pour over the names, the places. I can still this day, I can look at a wave and just tell you which wave it is, because for the same thing, you build up this deep knowledge of like imagery that's just stuck in your brain. It's amazing.
I've driven around to locations that I used to like read about, and just including like watching the Karate Kid when I lived there. Like, oh, that's Leo Carrillo. That's Leo Carrillo Beach, where they, you know, he kicks the soccer ball and gets in the fight. And oh, Reseda, that's where he lived. And you know, there's so many, like the Brady Bunch, and just television has such an impact, and media, that I just was obsessing about someday I'm going to live in California. And you know, and surfing, I got obsessed. I live in Malibu now.
I was going
And
to ask where you live. So you live in
yeah,
Malibu?
I love it. I always say Malibu, but it's more like I'm in the hills above Malibu, so it's kind of like Malabama.
No. Are you in like Topanga Canyon or somewhere?
No, one more canyon up, Malibu Canyon.
Malibu
But
Canyon. Cool.
but it's very I tell the joke on stage. I go, I live down the street from Will Smith, but across the street from me is a guy that operated on his own scrotum. And
welcome to Laguna Beach, right? It's like so we have the same thing.
you just never know what you're going to get. Who's a trust funder? Who's been locked in from the beginning?
Yeah.
You know,
No, this is what my wife says. She's like, in Laguna, the cool thing is nobody cares how much money you make or who you are. So you don't know if somebody's homeless or if they're a billionaire. It's just everyone kind of is in the same program, right?
Yeah, and they'll hang out with each other, which is the
Oh
funny.
yeah,
It's
a
happened here.
community. Yeah, it's so cool.
So how did you get to California? What was the road? Because I know there was some.
Oh, dude, it's kind of a bumpy road, but I mean, not a bumpy road, but just it's a crazy one. So I started out, I studied political philosophy, philosophy and political theory, and
Where'd you go?
I went to Wheaton College, which is a very conservative Christian school, for a few years. They kicked me out. They thought I was too good, apparently. And we had our own secret society called the Church of Reason. We had an underground newspaper called the Ice Cream Socialist. The real backstory was I was just throwing big parties with a bunch of guys, and we kind of had all this. My theory was if you have a lot of distraction out front that makes it look legitimate, nobody looks at what's really happening. And that worked for about 3 years until they were, you got to go. And it became national news because they threw me out for a poem. They couldn't catch us for the stuff that was against the rules. So they threw me out for a poem published in this student periodical, and made national news. My parents found out because it was on the TV, and it got me an internship. Go ahead.
What was the poem?
It was called Surfing, of course. And it was it was sort of based loosely on an E.E. Cummings poem about, it's all image driven. It was about, he wrote this poem about test driving a car, but it's really about, kind of test driving a potential spouse. And so it's a lot of kind of sexual imagery, but it's
all innuendo.
All innuendo. Yeah. Somebody just pointed out that one of the things I said in these public interviews was, but the sexuality was implicit, not explicit. And I'm laughing at it. I'm like that matters. I don't know why I thought that mattered so much, but it's just funny at the time. So anyways, so I got thrown out of there, but then I was trying to get this internship at the American Enterprise Institute, which is a kind of a celebrity think tank in DC. And one of the scholars there was doing a book on political scandal. And because we had made this, it was in the New York Times, it was on national TV, because it was so kind of well, publicized, she picked me over a kid from Stanford. And I got my foot in the door there. I worked for a congressman, Fred Upton, who's still there, and had a great summer. Went to Calvin College, finished there. And basically I graduated into, a big recession, 1991. And Japan hadn't hit a recession yet. So I borrowed some money from my dad, went over to Japan, found some work, scary sort of experience, but really fun, and was editing for a biotech and high-tech daily news service, then teaching English. And just always kind of.
Why'd you choose Japan? I've been there. I love it. I
love Japan. So at the time in 1991, it was very hard to find work in America. And, as a philosopher, and in Japan, if you had a college degree, you could make between $100 and $300 an hour. Well, I shouldn't say 300, probably between $30 and $100 an hour, either teaching English or editing. I was an editor at the college paper at Wheaton and stuff. So I had a lot of background there. So just a great way to earn some money and live in a foreign country and have some fun. And
were you living in Tokyo?
I lived in Tokyo and outside Ikebukuro in a little place called Narimaku, which was great because later Japan became our second biggest market for an energy drink company that I owned and ran for about 15 years. But yeah, I just absolutely loved Japan. The culture was a big culture shock at first, but then fell in love with it. Got a job to come back to a small emerging think tank in West Michigan, the Acton Institute, worked for them as their director of public affairs. Kind of decided I didn't want to be in think tanks anymore. Because of the economic writing I was doing, got invited to come be the marketing director for a beverage alcohol laboratory in the Napa Valley. I'm sorry, this is going probably longer than you were thinking, but
no, I find it all very interesting.
Yeah, well, here's the funny thing. So I had this crossroads in my life where I was trying to get a job at the OECD, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development in Paris, which is kind of a MacArthur plan, US-based program that works in long-range strategy and economics in France. Got in a car crash, couldn't sit my interview, was working on some political campaigns at the time, was trying to transition out of think tanks, had an interview at the Foundation for Economic Education in New York, which is a it's been around for a long time. It's one of the oldest think tanks in America. And the people who were running it, they had this beautiful, the foundation had these amazing grounds on the Hudson River, just north of New York City in Irvington their address was the Foundation for Economic Education, Irvington on Hudson, New York. There was no street address. It was just this big, amazing place. But when I went there, I was in my 20s, and like this guy, Hans Senholz, who's passed away, he was this Austrian economist, very famous. He was like senile. He thought I was showing up to work. Everybody there was like felt like they were in their 80s at the time, probably in their 50s. But, I just like, this isn't for me. And I had this other offer to go to Northern California to live in St. Helena and do a marketing program for this beverage alcohol, like for a wine and beer and distilled spirits laboratory, and just get into business. And I remember driving back through upstate New York, and I was just like, man, my college career is in philosophy and political theory. I've been working in politics. Should I keep doing that, or do I just throw it all away and get into business and make some money and start a different trajectory? And I just remember stopping at some lake up in upstate New York and walking around it and thinking about it. And I was like, fuck it, let's go to California. There's waves. It's gonna be fun. Like, come on, it's a beverage alcohol laboratory. Who doesn't want that? It's in the Napa Valley. Like, what's the real choice here? And I just, I basically shifted gears and did that, and it started me on a different path. But loved living out there. My wife and I, Sarah, got married out there. We had 2 kids up in the Napa Valley, lived there for 8 years, surfed big waves on the North Coast, pretty heavy water, great place. And I just absolutely loved it. And then it was basically, I always kind of had Southern California in the back of my mind, Laguna Beach in the back of my mind, and had kind of a weird trajectory from there.
Wait, let me ask you, when you say beverage alcohol laboratory, what do you mean? What's going on there?
Yeah, so it's right in the middle of the Napa Valley. It's a great lab, probably the best laboratory in the world for doing quantitative analysis on all the, wine, beer, distilled spirits. So a lot of people, a lot of the wineries in the Napa Valley or Sonoma Valley, but also like we would have people come from Germany and South Africa and work with us. We'd have Chris Moex, who owns Chateau Petrus and Domino's Estate, he would come into the lab, or, some pretty big profile folks would be in there a lot. You just get to work with some of the most interesting people in wine, beer, distilled spirits. And at the time, it was a very small laboratory in this old stone building, and we kind of expanded, grew, had a great time there. But we were just basically taking alcohol, whether it was, and doing a lot of like kind of production analysis, but then also doing a lot of, we do vertical tastings. We had a rule that if a bottle of good champagne came in, you had to like chill it and open it after you took the sample out, and everybody had to drink it. It was just a lot of fun.
I like how you turned it into fun, but I'm wondering, like, how is this laboratory profitable? Like, what's happening? People are paying for the service to like test their.
Yeah. So when you're making, so there's a science and an art to making wine or beer, distilled spirits. And the science is, the art is, the taste and how the blend and how that sort of thing. The science is very, very specific. It's, there's, particularly in the wine industry, you have to measure, like you're measuring grapes coming into crush, like what the sugar levels are versus potassium and other levels, so that you're kind of, if you have too much salt in the wine, too much potassium and things like that, and you have to manage the production of it, you have to add more things to it.
Sure.
If the salts get too much, because those are basically big stabilizers. And so you're always kind of you're managing coming into crush, you're managing through the crush process. So you're constantly looking at the chemistry of the process while you're making the wine.
Damn, and then you're demystifying the whole thing to me, because I was hoping it was all just, like a
somebody's nose in their palate.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a huge part of it. It's a huge part of it. It's a blend of that science and the art that makes it work.
I like to think they're all full of shit.
Well, to a degree, look, everybody's full of shit about a lot of things, right? But the great thing about some of the best wineries in the world or the best distilleries, is they're really blending to get to this thing that everybody associates with their brand. So that's where the nose and the that sort of thing comes in. But you also have to manage the science behind it. You can't have spoilage. You've got to make sure that the wine works. And so it's a combination. It's a lot of fun. But so I did that for a while, and then got into more and more tech. That was a very technical job. So I got more and more in technology. The .com boom happened. Ended up starting a fairly large .com company. That all kind of imploded. in the late 90s.
Yeah,
And
that's when everybody kind of imploded, right?
yeah, I got off the merry-go-round just in time, took a job as a CTO in Washington State for a couple of years, and then basically was just looking for something in Southern California, because Washington, I love Seattle, but man, it's rough in the winter.
Hey guys, I was just at a party the other night and I saw somebody else got the mud water. I love it when I find out people are actually listening to me and doing what I tell them. If you want to start looking into mushrooms, and I'm not talking about the psychedelic ones, I'm talking to the ones that actually have incredible health benefits. There is a coffee alternative with 4 aptogenic mushrooms. It's also got Ayurvedic herbs, and it's got 1/7 of the caffeine as a cup of coffee. So it's not going to give you the energy. What am I saying? It's going to give you the energy. It's not going to give you the anxiety. Okay. It's not going to give you the jitters, or you're not going to crash. And they've added one of the really crucial things in here is lion's mane, which gives you alertness. It's got cacao and chai for mood, and it's got a micro dose of caffeine. Like I said, 1/7. So you're not going to get the jitters, but you're going to get the energy. That's the important part. It's got cordyceps for that help support physical performance, and chaga and reishi to support your immune system. It's also got one of the most important things I think out there, turmeric. It's got turmeric, and that gives you the post-workout. That's going to help you with the post-workout soreness, inflammation. It's great. And also it's got cinnamon for antioxidants. It tastes great. It blends great into whatever you're drinking. I put it into my smoothies, and it's great with my chocolate smoothie. I mix it in with my protein powder. So there I'm getting all this stuff plus protein. It's incredible. Check it out. If you want to get mud water, it's Whole30 approved. It's 100% USDA organic. It's non-GMO, gluten-free, vegan, kosher certified. Check them out. You're going to get $5 off if you go to mudwater.com/WODcast. You get $5 off. Go to mudwater, mudwtr.com/WODcast. Support the show. Use the checkout. $5 off. You got to use WODcast then. Oh, I almost forgot to tell you that. So it's mudwater, mudwtr.com/WODcast. Then use WODcast when you check out. You're going to get $5 off. You're going to get an incredible drink. You're going to get healthier, and you're going to thank me. So check it out. Mudwater.com/WODcast. Use WODcast for $5 off.
Yeah, ended up finding a company down in Southern California to kind of help turn it around and own a big chunk of, and it's very messy turnaround. And I started an energy drink company that ultimately was very successful and ran for a long time. But
are you not allowed to say? Or?
No, I can say. Yeah, it was a company called Excess Energy Drinks. We partnered with a direct selling company, which is very unusual. We're the first energy drink company to be sugar-free, have flavors, use mega doses of B12 and other B complexes to give you really like a long-term healthier energy stuff that I love drinking every day. Some caffeine, but not too much.
What was your sweetener?
So this is, think about 2001, right? We were trying to be zero sugar. So stevia wasn't even available yet. And we were trying to be the healthiest. We used sucralose, which is, you probably heard of it. And
sure,
we
still being used in a lot of energy drinks.
Yeah. At the time, we were the first one to use it. We were the first one literally to use the term sugar-free instead of like diet. But yeah, so the idea was, sucralose is a sugar molecule that you adapt with salt. It's like, if you think NaCH is table salt, right? Sodium chloride. Sugar chloride is sucralose. It's a strong bond. What that salt does, the sodium, is it basically makes that sugar indigestible to your body, so it passes through. So like for example, if you have a child and they swallow a penny, you'll find it in the diaper. It'll just be a little shinier. It's the same thing.
So you're making the sugar like that. So it's never going through your liver?
No, not really. No, it's just passing through your body. Your body doesn't change and the molecule doesn't change. So it's fairly.
So sucralose is a little bit like I follow pretty much, I guess, the paleo lifestyle and eat a paleo. And there are some sweeteners that I do, stevia, like anything that's natural. Allulose is my favorite now, which comes from like maple syrup and big
sugar alcohol. Yeah.
Yeah. And the erythritol, I'll do the sugar alcohols. I'm a little bit weary of. They say they don't give you any bloating or problem.
No, they're definitely, no, you don't want to have too much because they'll definitely give you stomach distress.
Somebody that was arguing for them said, oh, you'd have to drink 30 can or 300 cans or something to get the stomach distress. And I'm like, no, I've had it on like a bag of cookies with them.
Well, and everybody's different. And well, the thing you want to look out for is maltose, which is probably one of the biggest abusers. Everybody's stomach is different. And when you start using something different, your stomach is probably going to react to it. It's usually over time, you might get better. Our whole thing, here's my simple theory is, people used to be, oh, it's not natural. I'm like, well, okay, what's natural?
Yeah.
Oh, it's chemical. Well, everything's a chemical. So what are we really talking about? I mean, arsenic is natural. An element on the periodic table. It'll fucking kill you, right? So uranium also on there.
I just learned all about arsenic today because Terminex was just at my house.
Yeah.
We had a mountain lion attack 4 days ago up here in the hills. A little boy was attacked, a 5-year-old boy, 4-year-old boy. He's okay. He has a huge gash on his neck and his face.
Oh wow.
His mom basically beat the mountain lion off.
Oh my gosh.
But the issue.
By the way, I think you mean she chased him away.
Yeah, she'll hell. That'd be a weird porno. So the reason the mountain lion, everybody's like, oh, the mountain lions, and I'm like, statistically, it happens once every like 10 years in California. So no,
yeah, it's like a shark attack.
They're getting more brazen. No, they're not. Oh, I see them on my camera because you didn't have a camera 10 years ago.
Exactly.
There were no camera. They're out every night walking around your neighborhood if you live in the hills like this. Right. So everybody's upset. And I said, whenever there's a drought, which there is now, we had 15 inches of rain last year. We had 4.
They're looking for other food sources. Yeah.
They're going down to the creeks. The creeks are empty. They don't know where to go. They need food. And so they're going to attack anything but what this guy told me at Terminex is that the poison that they use is, he's telling me it was boric acid on for spiders that dries them out. But with the rats, it's arsenic. And I don't know how true this is, but he scared the shit out of me. He said during the pandemic, he goes, they were catching rats and bringing them to like the CDC and all these people to study because rats have a 4-chambered heart, and that rats, that they were thinking, and they're still not sure, that the rats can carry the coronavirus. And like in New York City, there's something like 4 rats for every person.
Yeah.
We have this huge rat population. So the coyotes and the coyotes have kind of died off in our hills, and they're now down in the valleys. The mountain lions kill the mountain lions, coyotes. They kill all the rats and rabbits and all these things.
Right. Small rodents.
Yeah. If they get a hold of the ones that have the arsenic in them, arsenic dries them out.
Yeah.
And what it does is it dries them out to the point where they look for a water source then, and they're desperate for water. And so that's why then that
makes sense. No, but because arsenic will do that. The rats who've eaten, so rat poison basically melts your innards, right? So it basically makes you soluble and you start getting really thirsty. So it makes total sense that if they're getting, and arsenic is hard to, doesn't leave your body very quickly. So if they're eating a lot of rats that are dosed with arsenic, then they could be it makes sense.
So that could have been the situation with the coyote, because he told me, or with the mountain lion, he found a mountain lion under somebody's deck. Because I went under to do it, and there's a mountain lion there, a sick mountain lion, and it's just people still poisoning the rats, which you're not supposed to do, and the mountain lion eats it. And
every black box rat trap you see is basically an arsenic rat trap.
Yeah.
So, that makes total sense. Actually, it makes more sense the more you talk about it. But
I do it the humane way. I get them with the snap traps.
Dude, zapper. Dude, have you ever had a rat zapper? I bought.
Yes.
Rat zappers are nuts. Those are hilarious.
I had a bus that it was a studio that I spent $80,000 on, that these rats infested and ate every cable, because the cables are made of soy.
Yeah.
They chewed $10,000.
Why did they make the cables out of soy?
I don't know, but they did $10,000 worth of damage, and I quickly went from being like a pacifist that never killed an animal in his life,
murder every one of them,
hunting rats as a sport. And I found this guy on the internet. Yeah, I forget. I used to send this one CrossFitter, who's like a top CrossFitter. I would send him videos because he was hunting them too in Santa Cruz, and I would send him these videos. There's this like psychopathic guy on the internet that's like the best rat catcher in the world. And he's literally gets 60 million views.
Oh yeah,
his videos.
Because you know why? because a lot of people have to kill rats.
Yeah. But I mean, he shows you ways like you could put a bowl of like vegetable oil and put a ramp up to it, and the rats will run up the ramp, go to get the vegetable oil, they get in and they can't get out because they can't
my
get
God.
sides then. And
Oh,
then
no.
and then in one of the videos he cleans them. He
Oh,
cleans,
no.
I'm gonna keep these as pets. And I'm like, okay, Willard, you freak.
Oh my gosh.
You
Why
know,
would you keep them?
yeah, it's so weird. But this guy taught me I had a rat in my attic that got 7 nights in a row was getting the bait off the snap trap. And I was like, what? So I put a Ring camera up there and I was watching it. The first night it happened, I woke my wife up. I'm like, we have a monster in the attic. Like this thing is like this big. And I go, oh my God. So I read use a glue gun and glue dog food together, glue it down to the rat trap so they can't pull it off. And then they're like, screw the rat traps down because they'll take
it's so big. It's so big.
Rat trap with them. So I put 3 of them down. It got caught in 2 of the 3. Like snap.
Dude.
And it was gigantic. And it had
gnarly.
destroyed our attic, destroyed it.
That's
all
gnarly.
the insulation, everything. But I don't know why I told that story. Let's get back to
no, that's good stuff. We had a rat when we lived in Yountville in the wintertime when it gets cold.
That's where French Laundry is, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's Domaine Chandon. There's a lot of really cool things there, but it's also kind of it's a very down to earth town if you're not going to the fancy places.
Sure.
And so anyways,
and ask me, so I'm gonna interrupt you again. So what's your favorite restaurant up there?
Ooh.
And you don't have to name a fancy place either.
No, I mean, there's a lot of great ones, and we haven't lived there for a long time. We go back fairly often. We have a lot of friends up there, but I'm going to say, I mean, and look, the French Laundry is an amazing experience, and it's worth doing. It's horribly expensive, and you don't want to do it every day because you'd die or something.
Yeah.
But it's amazing. They have a secondary restaurant they started because they were like, they were just booked out for 6 months at a time and stuff. So they started Bouchon, which now has spawned sub Bouchons, different places. It's one of my favorite places to go. I just love the French bistro style. You can go late at night, you get the trout and the green beans. And I don't know. I really like Bouchon. There's so many great restaurants up there. I mean, they do farm to table. Yeah. And there's a lot of my favorite ones aren't there anymore. There used to be a place called Scholey's that had the first, when Cigar Aficionado started, Marvin Shankin, who produced the magazine Wine Spectator, started this magazine called Cigar Aficionado when cigars were just starting in the early 90s. And Grant Scholey was this great guy who had this restaurant called Scholey's, and he had a cigar dinner where I think we had 7 courses and 11 cigars. It was insane. So and by the way, I had no money. It wasn't like I was rich. It was just, you got invited to all this stuff.
Locked into it.
It was just, and it's nice, I enjoy it.
I like a little place up there, Mustard Grill.
Oh yeah, I know Mustard Grill. Yeah,
love Mustard Grill. I always feel like when people go up there, I go, "You want a sure thing?" They're like, "Yeah." I go to Mustard Grill.
Been there forever.
You'll have an amazing
years, probably
guaranteed amazing meal.
It's
in Napa Valley.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, and my sister used to write for Wine Spectator, so I knew.
Oh, did she really?
Yeah, for a brief period, she was studying to be a sommelier, to be like a master of wine, like one of those people that goes like, "It smells like fresh cut garden hose." And it's got a hint of limerick and a bad vagina fart.
It's got a queef that will make you.
They lie. That whole movie, people need to watch Psalm. It's just I swear those people are all full of shit.
I'm happy you said that. I'll say this about Marvin Shankin. If your advertising budget directly correlated to your score in Wine Spectator, there's some horror stories and from them, but anyways, it was fun to go to the Cigar Aficionado dinner.
So back to your beverage company. So you got a beverage company in Southern California.
Yeah.
And it's an energy drink.
Yeah.
And was anybody, I mean, Red Bull wasn't really even in the market yet, were they?
Well, no, they were. So the Red Bull, I think when we started, so I had owned a Red Bull distributor. So I was head of sales and marketing for the startup that I'd helped create called Nonstop Net. And it was we were basically hosting people's servers in early internet data centers, and we had a way of making the speeds faster, et cetera. But I was in charge of sales and marketing. You think about the late 90s, you're going to Comdex, which was the big internet trade show in Vegas, And, people, there's all these sexy businesses and puppets selling pet food and all this stuff going on. And I was like, how do we stand out in Comdex? We're a plumbing company effectively. And so we built the first 2-story trade show booth. And I was like, what do people need desperately after their first day in Vegas? Well, they need Red Bull. I mean, they're hungover, they're wiped out, and they got to go to a trade show. So we put a massive Red Bull bar in the center of our trade show booth with like these plasma screens. You'd walk up. We were hosting like Duke Nukem, all these cool video, early video companies and stuff. So it's just a way to get people in our booth so we could sift through them and then talk to them about hosting. And fast forward, I was, when I was thinking about how do we take this nutrition company and transform their business, I was looking at, okay, energy drinks. Red Bull has just skyrocketed since then, from the late 90s to 2001. I think they were, in the US, they were over $200 million very, very quickly. And from my experience with Red Bull, I was saying we were giving it away and people liked that hit, but there was like a takeoff and a crash and a lot of calories and sugar. I was like, what if we could just make something that experience, but make it taste good, get the sugar out of it and have it last longer. So we just did something very different. And it was all about it was experience driven. And so that's sort of where we kind of came from. And I was like, I don't want to compete with Red Bull. I want to do something very different. I want to sell it to a different demographic, to people who don't want to buy Red Bull. Red Bull was bought by 15 to 18-year-old boys primarily. And so we targeted ours towards moms buying for the home, by the case, and something that the hard to please teens would love, but that mom would want to drink too. And it was that was the genesis of where we came from.
And it took off.
Yeah. So we struggled in there's a long story about the company I came into to turn around and a lot of their problems with they had people, they had just a lot of issues, let's just say. It was going to be very hard for us to raise money. So I was looking for a way that we could sample and sell our way to success. And we had to be disruptive by how we distributed. Typically, beverage companies are all about spending a lot of money to get distribution and sales to grow your business, and the advertising comes later. Where we focused was something very different. I knew the Amway business. I'd been an Amway distributor. And I was like, direct selling doesn't have any cool beverages. There's no lifestyle brands. It's just kind of this dorky business with a bunch of, kind of Southern Baptist salespeople. I was like, what if we just made it cool and fun and had a flagship product that just everybody wanted? And so we actually got in the back door with Amway to, they gave us 2 SKUs in a catalog they had. And we put together just kind of, instead of trying to sell a product, we showed their younger distributors how to create a lifestyle and make it fun and get out of the suits and ties and the hotel conference rooms and do DJ parties and outdoor events and just make it rad. And if you could, here's a key insight about beverages or even cosmetics. Nobody wants to go work for Red Bull to be in the beverage industry. They want to work for Red Bull because they want to do fun, rad shit every day, right? They want to have an adventure. They want to skate. They want to ride BMX. They want to ski their brains off. And, beverages just fuel it. And so we said, well, we could do the same thing in direct selling. It's got kind of a bad legacy, but the structure is actually pretty good. It's just, it's been abused. And so we literally spent 15 years making this legacy direct selling company, MLM company, really fun and hip and cool, and transform their business. We took a company was been around for 60 years. It was doing billions of dollars in sales, and we carved out $500 million of it, but became their flagship and the way to attract new young generations to owning their own business and trying something new.
Interesting. Funny you said that about Red Bull, about being fun and cool. One of my neighbors was the head of Red Bull Films, and we'd always talk. He's a good buddy of mine, and we together and mountain bike, and we'd always talk concepts and like, why don't you come up with this film, or why don't you do this film? And one time I said to him, look, you guys do lifestyle, you do action sports, you do music. Why don't you add comedy? And he's like, we're owned by Austrians. They're like German.
they don't laugh.
They don't get comedy. He's like, you can't go that road. And I went, oh, okay, that makes sense. He's like,
it's a great idea though.
Yeah, it's funny. And I'm doing a I just signed on yesterday to do a comedy festival in Austria, in some ski resort in March. I'm going to do, and then something.
Tell me where you're going to be. I'll meet you there. We're living in Europe right now. And are you going to St. Anton?
No, I will show. Let me hold on one second. I'll pull it up on my computer right now.
March is actually, you're kind of at the end of the season, but it's a perfect time to be there because it calms down a little bit and you tend to have a lot of snow.
Looks like I'm going to Meyerhofen.
Meyerhofen. Yeah, I know exactly what it is.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's a cool area.
Yeah, I'm going Meyerhofen. There, it'll be the Alps Festival, and then after that, I will be in the same place doing snow bombing.
What's snow bombing?
I think it's just another festival, and it's probably a music festival, and they're tagging, like, they know that I'm coming up. I'm one of the only, I think I'm the only American act. All the other acts are UK acts. So
Well, I'll tell you what, though. So Austria is one thing. The Tyrol, is totally different. Tyroleans are like so rad. They party.
Oh, really?
They are relaxed. They're fun. They're the best. They're the best Germans.
Oh,
They're
good.
literally, they're so much fun. We used to sponsor the Pitstall Wild Face Free Ride Extreme, which is down the Ziffertal Valley, not too far from Meyerhofen, but it's like once you get to the end of those valleys and like there's nobody can touch you, and you bring in DJs and you're having the after party and it's all these people, like everything comes out. They're nuts. They're so much fun. I love it. I'm probably part Austrian just because I don't know.
So my experience is I've been over there to Germany and Austria, and I'm my heritage is part German. I didn't enjoy anything than the geography of Germany, like nothing else. Like I didn't like, I'm sorry if anyone German listens to this, I did not enjoy German people, and I'm one of them. And but Austrians, I love them. I was like, wow, right over the border.
Especially the Tyrol, it's just such a rad zone. People are they just cannot have more fun.
Oh,
like
good.
if you go to like St. Anton or some of these big, massive kind of ski areas in the spring, their freaking après ski goes Richter. Like if you're not at like the Hoistadel or one of these big bars by 3 p.m., like you can still ski for another hour. If you're not there by 3, you're not getting in. It's nuts.
Oh,
like
wow.
Thousands of people, DJs, and it's just like shit goes down. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's what I saw from the video, what it looked like. And I told my wife, I said, this is not a good payday, but it looks like
it's gonna be so much fun, dude.
She's like,
oh my God.
She's like, so you're gonna leave me and the kids?
Yes, I am.
Go over to Europe and for fun? And I'm like, well, dude. I'm connecting with my old promoters and over there and trying to reestablish, maybe build a market again. And she's like, I don't know about that. I'm like, do you want to come with me? We'll get a babysitter. And
seriously, let's connect. I'll connect you with some German guys in Valencia who are a ton of fun, who can help promote you too for events. They're awesome.
If you're looking to excel at your next CrossFit competition or just optimize your workouts and feel better doing it, then discover how Thorne helps athletes from every background reach their potential. Through personalized scientific wellness, Thorne enables athletes to perform their best by addressing performance issues through testing, database solutions, and premium supplements. And with the most comprehensive line of NSF certified for-sport products on the market, Thorne is the unquestioned leader in quality and in innovation in sports nutrition. Don't trust your body to anything less. Choose the supplement brand that has extensive third-party testing and the highest level of certification recognized in pro sports. Choose Thorne. It's the official national supplement partner of CrossFit. Now, through CrossFit's premier partnership, all members get an exclusive 20% discount on all of Thorne's health solutions. You're not going to get this discount anywhere else, anybody. So go to thorne.com/u/WODcast to learn more. That's Thorne, THORNE.com/u/WODcast. Okay. They've got supplements for everything. I mentioned earlier that I do the creatine. I do the NAC. I was just looking, I was having my magnesium wasn't doing its job. I don't do their magnesium. I actually just take Calm at night. I don't know if you've heard of Calm, but I want to get on Thorne because I trust Thorne over everyone else. And looking at this thing called Niacel, which if you could take like the same pre-workout and post-workout supplements that the pros take, now you can with this. It's they've got their own elite level of sports performance products. They've got stuff like Niacel, which is I'm not going to pronounce this right, but forgive me for this. It's a nicotinamide, I need Dylan. I need somebody else. Anyways, riboside. It's a supplement that optimizes energy production at the cellular level. Okay. What it does is it raises the body's level of NAD plus. You need to read about NAD plus. I've talked about it on the show before. And it's a crucial compound in the body needed for cellular repair and energy production in the mitochondria. By stimulating NAD plus production, Niacel also promotes exercise efficiency, helping to support your health and fitness goals. Okay. So when you're picking out all your supplements that you're going to take, why don't you throw some Niacel in there? And like I said, 20% off if you go to Thorne, THORNE.com/u/WODcast. I don't think you should trust your body to anything else. This is the top of the line, best stuff out there. All right. Good.
But Austria is my favorite. I mean, there's a lot of great places to ski in Europe. I love Austria is probably my favorite. That's just the whole.
That's where the famous downhill course is, isn't it? That
in Kitzbühel, there's a really famous downhill course.
people have died.
Oh yeah. Oh, they fly. Yeah. But there's just like it's amazing. You go to so if you go to St. Anton, that area, they have a 60-kilometer like ring you can ski, the Weiss ring or whatever it's called, and it's like town to town, and it's just you're above the tree line the whole time, and you can go off piste and ski powder, get back on the. I mean, it's if you like to get in the snow, it's insane up there.
Yeah,
it's
I've
really
skied
fun.
my whole life, so it's I've never skied Europe, so I'm looking forward to it. But so that was a multi-level marketing company. My father-in-law is in that business and has been very successful in that. Did you stay in that, or did you?
We built it. We started in 2002 with them. Went exclusive in 2003, and then they bought us in 2013. But we had this kind of long runway for the buyout, and then they earned us. We had an earn out. So I didn't leave there till 2019. I actually had to run the business. Part of the deal was I had to stay and run it through the earn out and all this sort of thing. But we were in 60 countries. I was constantly traveling around the world. I was probably traveling 10 months a year, going around the world 10 or 12 times a year, just because it's like you're always doing something in another market, and you're always having to kind of be the face and promote it. And I have some great partners, and we were just very, very busy and growing, in strong double digits every year. So you're literally doubling and tripling your business every few years. It's a great run. We had tons of fun. I got to meet all kinds of interesting people. And I think the best part, frankly, was just working with a lot of small business owners all over the world. I'd get to go to China, and I'd do 23 cities in China. And mostly I was spending my time with individual small business owners talking about their business in their market, in their culture, trying to understand what the tastes were, how people thought. I always used to say to my translators, I know what I'm trying to say. I have no idea what they're hearing. And it has nothing to do with what I'm trying to say to them. It has everything to do with, do they even understand what a weekend is? Do they understand what lifestyle or leisure is? Do they understand? Right. It's totally different worlds, right? And so the coolest thing about it, one was just seeing people transform and grow and be able to change their life through a very simple business. But I think the other part that I really loved was learning a lot about myself, was just learning that, you think you come from a place and you think you're saying something, and then you realize we're on different planets, and I need to build bridges and understand these people so that I can actually communicate and
try telling jokes to them.
Oh, dude, no, humor is rough. So you think about the movie industry, right? You try and get out and do some things from time to time. It's hard to find comedies when you're in foreign countries, especially in Asia, because
I've performed in Hong Kong and Shanghai, and there were rules. There were rules about filming. There were a lot of countries I've gone to. They've given us a little bit of restrictions, not as bad as everyone would think.
Yeah.
But, you know, definitely Middle East, you know, they would tell me, you do not make fun of the crown prince. You do not make fun of
Don't
this.
talk about Allah. Yeah.
Yeah, they're never, ever, ever. They're like, that's the one no. They're like, you can make fun of terrorism all you want. They're like,
Right.
you can make fun of Al Qaeda, you can make fun of ISIS, you can go, have fun. Yeah, okay.
But it gives you boundaries, right? I mean, it's kind of like in the US right now. If you think about all the, I mean, look, I'm very libertarian. I don't really like either party.
Yeah.
And there's good reasons for people calling other people out. There's also a cancel culture that's just absurd at times, right? And I think comedy has been, it's kind of been creamed by it in a way, right? Like where it's even hard to know what you can do anymore.
It makes me laugh though, because
Yeah.
you cancel us. I always go, what are you going to cancel me from? I'm playing the Chuckle Hut next week. Like,
Yeah,
like
yes.
what are they going to not work me at the Chuckle Hut? Like, you build your following on the internet and you don't let anyone ever cancel you. You just, they can cancel you. All these people that have been canceled, Louis C.K. selling out wherever he goes. So,
yeah.
he's
Well, look at Bill Burr. I mean, Pete Holmes is a good buddy of mine, and you know, I met Bill Burr a couple of times. That guy, I love. He's like the modern day Archie Bunker. He's so good.
He is a curmudgeon, but I don't really believe in cancel. They do try to.
They try, yeah.
And they get some guys, but you pretty much had to do something really wrong for them to get you. Like,
you had to deserve it, right? Yeah.
You pretty much had to rape someone to get canceled, and some guys have done it. And so I'm like, thanks for getting them. You know, like,
thanks. All of us thank you.
But as far as people say like language, or you can't say this, or you can say this, I go, keep putting up the boundaries for me, because that's the goal of a comedian, is to go past them.
Break it. Yeah.
The more you put them up, the more I'm going through them. And thank you. You just made my job. I went to Scandinavia and did tours, and they would say to me after the show, they'd be like, why did you think that's funny? And I'm like, what do you mean? It'd be like some dark joke I have. And they're like, that's not funny. And I was like, well, it is everywhere else. And they're like, why? And I'm like, I don't know. It's just kind of dark. And they're like, that's not dark. You know, like, like nothing. It's
not dark
Holland.
enough.
In Holland, there's such freedom that when you try to use like sexual humor to them, they're like, and
yeah, exactly.
And it's like, oh, see, we can't say that.
You're not there yet. Yeah, exactly.
But so it's funny in America because I'm pushing the bound, and they're like, not here. So so I actually prefer this culture. That's and awesome. Everybody complains about it. I'm like, please. And the woke culture of like trying to stop this and stop that. It's like, oh my God, you just make the crowd laugh harder by being such a douche about things like that.
You just gave me a new audience, right?
Yeah. So you're talking about the multi-level marketing and teaching business owners. My father-in-law, I get to watch him do that in China. Is a big market for them. And I watch him. He's a really, you know, he's just amazing. He walks in a room and just people love this guy. He's a former NFL football player. And he just has a way about him. And he's a workaholic because he just loves.
Well, he gets charged up by it, right?
Yeah, I think it's like me doing shows. He loves coaching these people and teaching people how to, you know, and there's criticism of that industry, but I see the benefits of it too. CrossFit, which is we talk about mostly in the show, is not far from it.
Well, it's no different than so when I was a CTO, I was a CTO of a health and fitness company in Seattle. If IHRSA is the governing body of the International Health and Racket Association is the governing body of all gyms. And if you look at the stats on a gym membership, it's no different than the stats on a direct selling company. Particularly the ones that are just selling memberships. If you go to, and 24-hour fitness, Bally's, the mass guys who are basically in the business of selling you a membership, not really getting you in shape. I mean, they'd love for you to get in shape, but they know that's not going to happen for most humans because you're made out of human being, right?
Yeah.
So when they sell you that $29 or $19 a month gym membership, they're betting that most of you aren't going to show up. Does the treadmill work fine at 24-hour fitness? Of course it does. It's well oiled. It is ready for you. Do sit-ups and push-ups work? Of course they do. They work any of us who go and do the work will get the results. Here's what everybody knows. It's most people won't do the work. And it's not because we're bad. It's not because we don't want to be fit. It's because we're not committed. We probably haven't done an assessment. We probably don't have a coach or a mentor. You know, here's where you change all those metrics. So if you join just like a membership gym, 60% of the people who join will not be there after 30 or 60 days. It's very similar numbers in direct selling. If you start with a trainer and you do an assessment and you have a dedicated trainer that you're paying to show up, let's say 2 or 3 days a week, you're going to show up 2 or 3 days a week and you're going to get the results that you did the assessment to get, because that trainer will keep you on track and help you get there. And it's those numbers. I mean, the people who are retained, who are on those programs, it's like, you know, like 70 or 80% stay with the gym and stay with the trainer. But it's a fundamentally different experience. And the question is, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to just sift through humanity and see who sticks? Or are you trying to vet people to see if they're even worthy of the program that you're putting out there, and making them commit to it in a way that guarantees a level of success, rather than here's a cheap way to join, good luck, I hope you make it. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a different approach. And those people, there's going to be a lot of fallout. Or are you doing a program where you're like, what do you want? What are you willing to commit to it? What's your budget? What are you willing to give up? What's the discipline you're willing to do? And will you submit yourself to a coach and mentor who can deliver this consistently? Because if you're not willing to do that, don't do this program. Don't sign up for a coach if you're not going to submit to the training, right? That's a waste of everybody's time and money. And I think that is the very simple element. I've seen it over and over and over again. I've done it in 60 countries with millions of people. I don't care if you're Chinese or American, you know, US or Japanese or European, we're all made out of people. And we all kind of have the same issues. And, you know, it's different in different cultures and languages and religions, but the similarities are very similar underneath it all. And, you know, if you do the assessment, you define what you want, you put a plan together, you have somebody who's help you get stick to it, you're probably going to get there.
Well, that's where CrossFit went. It went from, we want you actually in our gym. We want you working. Yeah. We want you with the trainer. We want you coached. Yep. But a little bit, and it was kind of like the way I was comparing it is affiliate marketing, where you had this CEO of CrossFit, who was Greg Glassman at the time, who would sell affiliates. You would have your own private business that you would run. They would teach you, kind of give you the template to run it. You would run your business and you would recruit members of your gym. And then you'd have to be certified and pay an affiliate fee. Now you would eventually, hopefully coach enough people that they would want to get certified. Right. And then they would pay for a certification and then maybe start their own affiliate. So it became this, a little bit, that's where it was a little bit of like, let's keep sending this down the road. Now, where it wasn't like multi-level marketing is none of the higher ups were getting, like if you coached a bunch of guys and they went off and opened their own affiliates, you didn't get anything from it. Only CrossFit got something from it. So I think that was a little bit of where maybe the CEO, the owner, the creator went a little wrong, because he didn't give them the opportunity, and all you would do is create competitors.
Right. Well,
so you'd coach these people. They'd go out and open one across the street from you and take half your members.
This is where like structure and modeling makes a big difference. And you've seen it in franchising. You've seen it in direct selling. You know, usually when you're trying to grow and scale, you'll do what's called a master franchise model, where you basically allow somebody to have sub franchises. And you can, like McDonald's had this early on. You had people that owned, you know, thousands of McDonald's and made lots and lots. McDonald's was in the business of selling you the machines and the ingredients to make everything. They had a model that you would buy into, and they allowed master franchising, where you could have your own restaurants and sub restaurants as part of that model. Very, very similar to what we would call unilevel direct selling today. Other people were like, no, we want it to be very direct. We want to control everything. We want, you know, and so you had what you would call just standard franchise models, where it's like basically the franchise and individual stores. And then what happens generally as those scale is the franchises tend to start buying back all the restaurants, because they want more and more control of it, and they want to, you know, increase the margin on those businesses. It's a fascinating industry. And, you know, the funny thing is you can do any of those models right, and you can do any of those models wrong.
Right.
And there isn't a right answer. I think there's just interesting ways to do it depending on what you're trying to accomplish.
Well, in CrossFit, it it made the owner very rich. He sold out for somewhere around $200 million. But, the individual affiliate owners weren't doing too well. They were all
sort of got screwed. Yeah.
breaking even. And now I think things are going to change a bit because there's a new CEO, new owner, and trying to make it more profitable for them. But so somewhere I read in your bio somewhere something about investor fraud. I got to hear this. What
Oh,
happened?
Yeah. So when I was in Seattle, I was asked to, a friend of mine asked me to go up and vet this company that was they were kind of transforming the way that gyms were selling themselves, and met the founder. They had a model on Bainbridge Island that was really outperforming the industry, where basically you couldn't even join unless you did an assessment, had a trainer. They had integrated physical therapy and chiropractic and massage. So it was all these services, and they were getting, people were spending $600 or $800 a month for this totally integrated solution rather than just buying a gym membership, and they were staying for a long time. So the model was really good. The idea then was that I was working for a Seattle company that was affiliated with it that was going to scale that and franchise it all over the US. And like my boss, I was the chief technology officer. My boss was Chuck Dillman, who had been the chief science officer at the US Olympics. He had moved them to Colorado Springs. He created the, what's the clinic in Vail? Super
Stedman?
famous. Yeah,
Stedman.
Stedman Clinic. He'd created the Stedman Clinic in Vail, like super famous guy in physiotherapy and sports, and just master guy. I was working with trainer, like the head of coaching, Tom Crawford from the US Olympics was working with me there. Just brilliant, interesting people. And we had raised $10 million to franchise this thing, all from vetted sources. The founder, Kevin Lawrence, was selling shares of this little company in Bainbridge Island that he was like, so we've got Zenetics over here, and then they're going to buy this model over here as part of they have an acquisition strategy, and then they're going to scale this. Well, we were working hand in glove with them, but we didn't know what Kevin was doing. Kevin was selling shares in this company in Bainbridge Island, guaranteeing a 400% return on your money to anybody that would buy a share. And he had a whole boiler room going. We had no idea. I was out doing very normal work. Chuck's there. These are seasoned, great people. Kevin raised between $70 and $90 million from grandma and grandpa and anybody who would write him a check, $5,000 at a time. Like literally insanity.
Yeah.
None of us knew this. We had no idea what was going on. We found out because the FBI basically just grabbed everything that he owned. When they busted him, this guy owned a submarine. He had fire trucks. He had sports cars. There was just let's just say there was a sickness going on in this man.
Yeah.
Right? Stuff that was just beyond the pale of normal behavior. Rob Bell's a good friend of mine who's a writer, and he was a pastor in his past life. He wrote Love Wins. We were talking about telling this story. He goes, you just need to start your starting sentence needs to be, he owned a fire truck.
Yeah,
it was just so bizarre.
I don't know. Submarine is a little better than a fire truck. Submarine,
he owned a submarine. He owned a submarine.
I've always been very suspicious of. When I grew up in this little place called Fox Chapel. It's a suburb of Pittsburgh, and we belonged to a country club, and everybody's somewhat wealthy there. But there was a family that the guy would literally land his helicopter in the backyard all the time. And, and we'd go to swim team parties at their house, and they had all the best shit and everything. And then one day, a bunch of guys in black SUVs just showed up and took them away.
Took everything.
And we were like, what happened to the McCanns? And they were like, oh, he was selling guns, he had a
Something
weapon.
Horrible. Oh, God.
Illegal weapons to countries. And honestly, sometimes if it seems too good to be true, it is. And I always say that to my wife when I get business opportunities from someone that wants me to come into this company, that I'm always like, stick with what I'm doing, because it just always seems like if it's
stick with what you know. It's smart. And I think it's some people need to make a change, and that's great. But if what you're doing works, man, don't break the wagon to fix it.
Did you get in any trouble for that?
No, I didn't. I was here's the funny thing is I came out of we moved from the Silicon, basically a lot of the work I was doing in .coms and stuff up there. I had all this, I had $200 million in deals that I was waiting to close on for our next round. Like, I wasn't just building out the technology, I was building the business of technology. I mean, I had partnerships with some online healthcare companies. I was taking it further than his vision. So I was the last thing the FBI needed in their case. Like, I was validating his model, and they're like, no, he's a scam artist. You're, so they're like, you're out of here. Just go away. We don't want to talk to you anymore.
You're lucky.
Well, yeah, I mean,
that's my fear of always being brought down with someone else that's doing, like, I'm going to be the guy going, I didn't have any idea, like one of my greatest fears in life is to be wrongfully imprisoned and just go to jail for something I'm totally innocent for. But, like I always say to my wife, because she handles my finances, and she'll be like, da, da, da. I'm like, make sure this is on the up and up. Like, I never want to be that guy that's in prison going, I had no idea what my wife.
I've always said that. Yeah. I've always said that to my CPA. I'm like, dude, look, we pay taxes. That's just, and I have great CPAs. They're very conservative, but I kind of vet them that way. I'm like, I'll be audited. I'm sure I will. Let's just start there. So let's assume we're going to be audited. I never want to have any kind of liability is going to put me in prison. And I definitely don't want to have people taking money back out of my bank account. So just pay it. It's easier that way. Let's keep it simple, pay the tax man, and let's just go on our merry way. Let's make sure we don't have bad audits and they're simple and we're clean. So
what are you doing now that you're out of that company, correct? The XS?
Yeah. So I left in 2019. They changed CEOs, and there's times I wasn't there anymore for money. I was there because I love the people, and they had a new CEO who just thought differently, and that's a good time to shift gears, in my opinion, because you want to support the CEO, and then if you see things, the world differently than they do, you want to wish them well and go do your vision of the world. So Aaron Rodgers is a good buddy. He's from the Green Bay Packers.
He used to live in Malibu for a little bit.
Yeah, he still does. He still has his house.
Okay.
Yeah.
He was dating Danica Patrick, who was big into CrossFit. I want to get her on the podcast.
She is wonderful. I'd be happy to connect. She's still a good friend. And she's still into CrossFit. She lives in Phoenix mostly right now. In fact, we're going to see her in Valencia next week, I think. So Aaron asked me to invest and be a part of a fund he started called RX3, which is we invest in emerging brands. We've been in like stuff, like Orgain, the protein company, or what's some of the other ones? What's the body shave guy? I mean, we're in a lot of emerging brands. I won't go through them all, but doing very well. And then one of our co-founders of that fund, Byron Roth with Roth Capital, had invested a lot of money in a company called New Age Beverages, and he asked me to go help them with the turnaround. So I went there last year, and we helped fix that company. They bought me out after less than a year. We did a merger, and we did our work, it doubled the shareholder price. I wasn't really there for a career. And one of the companies that I was really interested in the direct selling space, mainly because they're really leading with, I think, the most new young builders and the most customers, which is, I have this, so kind of what we did with XS was we got the direct selling business to really focus on customers again. Think about how you build brands in that space and lifestyle. And if you look at this might bore some of your listeners, but if you look at the values of businesses in consumer goods, direct sellers are deeply undervalued. They generate a ton of cash, and they'll get a multiple of maybe 3 to 1, where like a hot consumer brand, which is generating almost no cash or in debt, gets a value of like 14 to 1. So the question I had was, well, what if we move to this social media age where basically what direct sellers have been doing for years with affiliate marketing has become the norm on social media and the internet. If these direct sellers can actually shift and become more like these emerging consumer brands, you could get a huge multiple and a ton of cash and make something a lot more valuable. And so this is sort of the premise I was working on before. We developed some at New Age, and now we're kind of expanding aggressively. I'm at a company called It Works, and it's out of Florida, and I'm running their non-US business. So everything outside the US, which is why I'm living in France and Dublin right now, or kind of Ireland and France. But we do a lot of like weight loss, like ketogenic products and super greens, super reds, cutting edge nutrition. But I think we're really pushing the envelope on kind of blurring the lines between what is an emerging nutrition business and what's direct selling. And we're rewarding a lot of young women who are building our business around the world through social media. And it's with a lot of customers, which I think it's a big differentiator in our category. And we're paying people for the work, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's an interesting business. I've got a lot of friends in it right now. I've got a friend, John Durant, who does Wild Ventures, where he raises capital for a lot of, no brick and mortar, anything that is like I think he didn't work with Laird, but he worked with Primal Kitchen and works with Magic Spoon and a lot of the stuff that are sponsors of our show, that I'll go to him and I'll go, I love this product. Get them to sponsor our show because I want to sell their stuff. Like I enjoy, we'll get 5 boxes of Magic Spoon cereal and it'll be gone in 5 days.
Oh yeah.
Kids. And that's one that uses allulose. That's just, it's whey protein. You're eating a bowl of cereal and getting 20 grams of sugar or 20 grams of protein.
Right.
Yeah, you can't beat that.
No, so, we tried to, I was really hoping that we could acquire On It Nutrition last year. I spent a bunch of time with Aubrey Marcus, who I'm a huge fan of, and
Aubrey's great.
Joe Rogan. Those guys are insane.
Yeah, I've been on Joe's show a bunch.
Those guys are nuts. But I think what they're doing is largely the future of nutrition right now with nootropics and mushrooms. If you can see, I'm wearing a mushroom tee right now. But
we've got to sponsor Mudwater.
Oh yeah, Mudwater's fantastic.
Yeah, they sponsor the show. They're great.
Yeah, no, I think that is the future of, if you think about, you've seen, I'm sure, fantastic fungi and a lot of the research that's going on now in mushrooms, but things like psilocybin, which had been, the FDA had and the DEA had kind of outlawed, are now, more than 40 major medical teaching schools are doing deep research on because they're so transformative. Lions. Yeah, well, and finally, right? Lion's mane, it's one of the only things on earth that will regrow neural tissue when you have brain damage, let alone if you just get old. There's so many things happening. My younger son has a new company that's doing mushroom powders. Sataji is just starting, but it's, I think a lot of younger people in their 20s are like way ahead of us and thinking about mushrooms. And
well, it was so taboo. It was so hard to even knock down the walls for marijuana. I watched a guy doing bong hits. I was down at First Point in Malibu this morning, and I've got my 2-year-old son with me and my wife, and I'm talking to this guy, and he pulls a bong out of his car and starts doing bong hits. And I was like, is that? And my wife's like, what? It's legal. And I'm like, I know, but like, I can see he's smoking a joint. He just pulled this huge bong out and just starts ripping bongs right at the surf break. And I just found it interesting that we've reached that in this culture that like, that's who cares.
I have a good one. So our Congressman Harley Ruda is a buddy of mine. He calls me up. He's like, when it was legal, he goes, hey Dave, where do I go to get, because I'm sort of known for having a lot of festive times and lots of ingredients for festivities around. And he goes, hey, can you take me to your favorite? He goes, hey, would you take me to a shop? And I was like, sure, to buy weed, dispensary. And I was like, sure. So I go to his house on eBay. I get to his house, and I'm like, he goes, well, which one do you? He goes, where are we going? I'm like, I don't know. Where do you want to go? He goes, well, where do you buy weed? I'm like, dude, I just buy it on ease.com and deliver it to your house. He goes, what? And this was when you still had to have like the medical ID and everything. So I was like, yeah, we went into his house. A doctor comes on. You get your card, right? They do like this video chat. You get a digital card, and then it turns into like the Amazon.com of weed, and you're like picking everything. And then it becomes like, I'm doing an ad for Ease. I'm not sponsored by Ease. And then it becomes like Uber, and it's like, you'll be here in 20 minutes. He's like, you gotta be. He's like, he's like my age. We're like in our 50s. He's like, you gotta be kidding me. I'm like, dude, if you had told us in 1985 that this was going to be the future, we would have just been like, no fucking way. Like, come on, there's no way this is going to be real. And it's so ridiculous. It's so hilarious. I think the world's becoming something really wonderful. I've lost my, sorry. Okay, I can hear you barely. Can you hear me okay? I can, but I think it's muffled for some reason. I don't know why. It's okay. I can hear you now. Dude. Yeah. The world's changed. It's so nuts. It's crazy. It's crazy.
So you're over there. How long do you plan on living in Europe?
This is a company that's young. It's not that young, but it's almost like a 20-year-old startup. So it's a fun project for me. We have a son that lives over here, and my wife loves France, and we're redoing a house in Laguna Beach. And so there's just a lot of reasons where it's a nice time to do something different. I think with COVID too, it just gave us a reason to shift gears a little bit. I wasn't really looking for another job, but I'm kind of passionate about this industry and this one premise that I have, that I think we can actually make direct sellers normal and and get their values way up. And I think that could be a humongous opportunity for other investing that I do, and especially in between. If you blur the lines between emerging brands and nutrition and how you can reach people through direct selling with much bigger stories than you can other ways, I think there's an opportunity to do something really great. And
well, it's funny,
yeah,
because there was a bit of a taboo or a blemish on direct selling and affiliate marketing, all that kind of stuff. And I've seen it with my father-in-law does. And then you look at what's happening with the internet, and that's all anybody is doing. With social media.
oh yeah, that's the same thing, right? It's the same thing. Yeah.
So I always, they go, oh, but the dropout rate is blah, blah, blah. I'm like, so is every business.
Compared to what? Compared to what? Yeah. No, and that's the thing. That's why I use gyms as a reference. That's just humanity. People do that. If they don't have a coach and they don't have a plan and they don't know why they're doing it, the dropout rate is going to be 60, 70% minimum. When you change that, I don't care what it is, college, school, when you have a comedy, what's the dropout rate in comedy? I mean, right. I remember Malcolm Forbes wrote this, when the father of Steve Forbes, he wrote this article shitting on direct selling years ago. And I wrote a letter back to him. I was in my 20s, and he was like, they oversell. I was like, compared to journalism, like, I mean, how many kids go to college for journalism? And then how many of them become successful journalists like you, Malcolm Forbes, and own Forbes magazine? Fuck you. Like, give me your stats. How many people that got a college degree in journalism own a successful magazine today? Like, point none. Yeah, right. Can pay their bills, can pay their rent. Oh, it's yeah. What's the Jerry Seinfeld comedy where it's like after he's been successful and he's him going back? Yeah, the comedian. And there's the guy who's like a successful comedian who's bummed because he's not. I don't know. I forget the guy. I don't remember the names very well. Yeah, Warnie Adams. And he's like, he says something to the effect of, I should have become a dentist because I have a friend who's a dentist and he's doing better than me. And Jerry's like, what? Like, you don't become a comedian to make money. You become a comedian because you can't not do it, right? It's got to be in your soul.
I was complaining about something. He goes, what are you complaining about? And I said, I just died at this. And he goes, you work like an hour a day. You're wearing jeans and tennis shoes right now.
He's best life ever.
He's like, there are girls around. There's drinking. He's like,
you have nothing to complain about.
Like, you have the greatest. And I think that was the last time I ever complained. I was like, he's right. I should shut up right now.
Well, No, it's well, but somebody said to me we were moving between one house in Laguna to another house in Laguna because it's mildly, it's like micro change. You're like, oh, but if I was just there, if I was just in Woods Cove or just on the hill or whatever, and of course you could be anywhere and you can choose to be happy or not happy. But we were moving and I was, it's always stress in some move, and I said something that was complaining, and someone was like, oh, 1% problems, and I was like, yeah, but it's my problem. I don't give a shit about other people's problems.
That's a good point. It's all relative. There's a book, I think it's called Man's Search for Meaning, Victor.
Oh yeah, it's Viktor Frankl. Yeah, great book.
And in it, he talks about suffering and how suffering will fill a room like gas. No matter how big the room is, it'll fill the room.
Right.
And I've always kind of used that as an analogy of like, I could look at, my sister said it best one day. I was complaining about some guy on Wall Street that made, $100 million that was upset when the crash, and he was down, his worth was down to 50 million. And I'm like, he's a piece of shit, blah, 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 blah. And my sister goes, people in Africa think you and your 40 pairs of shoes are a piece of shit.
Right.
And I was like, oh yeah, like it's all relative, and we all do have problems. And
exactly, I'll die. My sister-in-law and former brother-in-law lived in India for a long time. He was doing social anthropology there, and they come back to the US, and there was a news story about migrant workers living in third world conditions, and they're living in a house with a roof and walls that has concrete floors and flushing toilets and running water. And my sister-in-law goes, that's not third world conditions. It just doesn't have carpet on the floor. But it's all relative. It's I think what's his name, M. Scott Peck said life is difficult, and it that's the simple math. Doesn't matter how much you have or don't have. Life is difficult.
My dad always says life is like running hurdles on a treadmill uphill. And you just got to keep jumping over them, or they're going to knock you down and you're going to fall off. So you just keep going, and the treadmill never stops till you die.
Well, and that's why I think, look, the only things that happen in life that are worth anything take hard work. But if you can make the hard work fun, and you can enjoy it, and you can make it a game, and you can laugh, then you don't mind the hard work so much. I played soccer in college. I love surfing big waves still. It's a lot of work, but it's so much fun, right?
Do you surf over in Ireland in the big waves?
I will be. I haven't yet, but I'm looking forward to it. It will be this year. I will officially be living in Ireland later this year, but we have a place there, and I got a defender already, and we're ready to start shredding over there.
Where are you going to start? Is it Sligo where the big wave is?
There's a bunch of them. The whole coast, the whole West Coast gets just mobbed, and there's all kinds of nooks and crannies. I don't know them that well yet, but I'm looking forward to, and I'm going to be here a lot. I'm really stoked on freaking the Bay of Biscay. I think I just love this whole, the Osagor, Biarritz corridor.
Where are you going to live in Ireland?
We're going to live a little place called Pilliny, south of Dublin, near Dalkey. It's funny, we have some friends who are close to the U2 fellas, and we've met them a few times, and we're literally a 10-minute walk from the Houstons. So it's a cool zone. It's a really nice beach area that's just south of Dublin.
Yeah, I've toured over there a lot, so I know.
Have you really?
Yeah, I've done a lot of shows in Ireland, and I've got a couple really good comedian friends from there.
Well, dude, next time you come over, let me know. We'll hook it up. We'll have some fun. And
that water looks scary.
It's like Northern California. It's not as cold. It's like 55, and
right now. Malibu's 59 degrees today.
I'll tell you, man, when we lived up north, though, you surf north of the bay, Salt, if you go up to Sea Ranch and those areas, when it's down in the 40s, it's a different animal than when it's in the 50s. I'm still 55 is okay by me. 45 is not okay. I want to be out there. No, thank you.
Well, I've kept you longer than I promised, and I feel very fortunate and grateful. You were awesome.
Thank you.
Very interesting, and I just knew it would be. I don't know why. I watched all your Instagrams. I'm like, I don't know why. I want to talk to this guy, and you were better than I thought. So
Well, thank you for having me on. Really appreciate it. This has been a pleasure, and I'll have you on mine too. I'll get you on Kick Aspirational.
Yeah, I would love to
if you don't mind.
And I want to talk to you more about this funny place I'm going in Austria.
Dude, I'm 100% in. I'm not joking. Like, let's connect over there. Be rad.
Yeah. So, hey, you guys listening, you know what to do. Rate, review, comment, and also go to our Patreon, patreon.com/WODcast podcast or WODcastpodcast.com/Patreon. And where can they find you? That's the most important thing.
So I'm on Instagram. I'm David, Daveed 58, David 58. It's an old joke for my kids. And or David at itworks.com. They can email me if they go OG.